Good morning. My name is Ella Hay. I'm a subarctic beekeeper, one of the many. And I'm going to do an oxalic acid vapor treatment today to kill the mites that are undoubtedly in my hives. And what you see me doing now is stuffing towels, old shop rags, into the hive entrance. I want to keep those bees in the hive. I've got some protective gear on, code nasty jeans. I've got a mask on because I don't want to breathe in the vapors. I'm going to go ahead and stuff these rags into every opening so I don't have to worry about them and I can just go from hive to hive to hive. And the bees are going to be pissed. When you do this, make sure you've got the rags in, because they'll come out any angle that they can. I want to seal this opening so the vapors can get in through and permeate the hives. It's easier to do with bare hands than gloves. Temperature is about 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So the bees are in their hives. They're not in a cluster. It's not that cold, which is good. Because if they're in a cluster, the vapors can't get through the cluster to get the bees. So now what you can see here is I have a marine battery, extra battery. I've got an extra rag. I've got my gloves. I've got my glasses falling off. Put those back on. That is an issue. That's a problem. Got to keep them from fogging. I've got my oxalic acid vaporizer wand, my acid, my 1/4 teaspoon measuring thing that came with the acid, and I'm going to put all that stuff on a paper plate. I've got the battery on a piece of plywood. I also brought a mason jar with a little bit of water to cool the wand. Okay, I've got a timer now. Set for 3 minutes. Look what happened. I realized my veil wasn't zippered up. I need to do that. The bees have sent out a couple of bees to figure out what's going on. That'll happen. I want to make sure you're fully zipped up. You don't want to get this stuff on your skin and you don't want to breathe it in. The reason I need to do a mite treatment is because I got some bees from the lower 48, came up in a 4-pound package, and they inevitably bring mites with them, Varroa mites. Varroa mites carry different viruses with them. They adversely affect the health of my bees. They're all around bad. They spread to other colonies in the area. I'm putting my leather gloves on. I use gloves I got from Duluth Trading Company because they fit my hand better. So I have better dexterity. Although I don't like putting them on with the jacket on because it's hard to use my fingers to wrap this elastic band around them, but get it done. I'm doing this before I even touch that acid. Oxalic acid is also known as wood bleach. Get those gloves on well. Make sure my hives are sealed up. They are. All right, let's do this. So, scrap of plywood. I need something to rest that wand on. And I'm going to move from hive to hive. I see that this hive already has a leak and there's bees coming out. I don't want that. I want them all to get treated. The oxalic acid vaporizer has a very long cord, which is good. This is where the oxalic acid goes in, right in that top. You don't want to get this area wet. And this process happens pretty quick. I put the acid on, it starts to burn. I get it in the hive, sliding it along the bottom, all the way in, hoping that I don't get too many bees in the process. And I let it go for 3 minutes. Take it out, keep the rag in, and then pull the rag out afterwards. So I can just go hive to hive to hive to hive to hive. Okay, so I've got my vaporizer. I'm going to hook up the terminals on the vaporizer. Black is always negative, red is always positive. So I'm going to hook those up to the appropriate areas of the battery. That'll help produce the heat for the vaporizer. Got the negative on the terminal, I've got the positive. Now, this is going to start heating up. So, I want to make sure that my mask is fitting well. I'm going to set my vaporizer down. I want you to see what's going on here. Okay, set my vaporizer down on the wood. I don't want to burn my deck. I'm opening the acid. I'm taking my tiny scoop and I am measuring out 1/4 teaspoon of acid. I'm putting the lid back on as an extra precaution. Putting the acid on away from my face. Making sure the connection is going on. I don't see any smoke yet. I want to make sure that's happening before I stick it in. Make sure my connections are tight. Make sure I've got a charge. I do. I think it's warming up. As you can see, the oxalic acid is not vaporizing right now. What I want to do is take off my glove and test the container, the wand, and see if it's getting warm. But I can't do that. And I don't want to waste my time. There are some, there it goes. I started to see some smoke. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to open a corner of this hive so that you can see it, and very quickly slide this all the way in so it gets onto the metal grate of the bottom of my hive. Okay? But bees are humming with anger. My timer. My timer's in my glove. I set my timer 3 minutes. Put my glove back on. I see some bees coming out of a crack where I have not attached the boxes securely enough. I don't want that. And here they come. They're trying to escape. I'm going to hold that towel in there because I want all these bees to be treated. I want all the mites dead. We're going to hold it 3 minutes. Checking that wand to make sure it's in there for 3 minutes and that it hasn't twisted. So, mites, Varroa mites. They can transmit acute bee paralysis virus. They can transmit deformed wing virus. They feed on the lifeblood of the bees and weaken them, weaken their immune systems. They mess with their ability to thermoregulate. So it is good to treat your bees for mites. 3 minutes is up. I'm going to pull that wand out carefully and replug that hole. Some bees have gotten loose. I'm going to put the wand inside this jelly jar. I'm actually going to bang off the dead bees. Okay, next hive. Oh, they're coming out in droves. Don't want that. Want all those vapors to settle in. Regardless, I've committed to the procedure, so we're going to complete the mission. Next hive. Make sure it's well plugged in, plugged up. Measure my 1/4 teaspoon of acid. My wand is nice and hot. Acid on the wand. Slow going today. I'm looking for heat. I'm touching the bottom of the wand with my glove. What might be happening is that it needs to be cleaned. Sometimes we get bees in there. They get fried, unfortunately, and that can interfere with the heat conduction. Got the wand, got the acid, pulling apart the towel, putting it on the very bottom, plugging that hole up. Timer set for 3 minutes, and we wait. I'm not going to unplug that first hive yet. They're doing a pretty good job of getting out themselves, to tell you the truth. So since some bees have gotten out, those bees aren't getting the benefit of the treatment. So I'll have to treat again, but not today. My mask, I need to pull down a little bit. I'm going to move down to the next hive. I'm prepared. Make sure that the hives are plugged up and secure. These hives are doing great. I want them to last the summer. Thankfully, the vaporizer wand has a very long cord, so I don't have to drag that battery all over the place. After this, what I'm going to do after I get to the last one, I'm going to come by and pull out all these towels and walk away. And the bees will have time to do their thing, to get out, to be angry, to do their thing. And then I'll get on with my day. All right, I'm going to move my plate down that has my acid and my measuring cup, measuring spoon. I just dread editing this video. What do you do? Okay, it's been 3 minutes. I'm going to gently pull that wand out. Inevitably, some bees are going to come out. Lots of bees. You might get this. It's disappointing. I'm going to shake them off. I still have some acid on there. It means it's not all vaporized. So what I'm going to do, being very careful not to breathe, is I'm going to scrape off that old acid and old dead bee gunk. I should be using a knife, and I should have done this before using it, because that can really interfere with the heat, and I'm obviously getting some interference with heat here. If I did not have protective gear, I wouldn't be doing it like this. I'm going to check for heat. If you're not getting any heat, there's something with your wand. I always check the connections. There's a little screw here. Make sure that's okay. I'm now getting heat. Good. You can also check the connectors to your battery. Make sure your battery is charged and ready to go. So, another argument for keeping your equipment clean. You can hear me tapping. That's because my bees are on my deck right now. Okay, getting good heat. It's hard to feel heat through the leather gloves. I'm moving down to hive 2. One thing about the wand is the cord gets curly, so you have to make sure that it doesn't flip. I'm going to measure my acid, scrape off the excess, put the top back on, load it up into there, make sure I've got heat, don't touch the acid. I've got some heat. I'm going to slide it into this hive along the bottom because I don't want to burn up any of my hives. I've got polystyrene hives that melt. We don't want any melting. So stick that in as far as it'll go. Direct it towards the center where there's a metal grid. And I wait 3 minutes. As you can see, bees in hive number 1 here are not happy. I've got neoprene boots on. I've got old beekeeping jeans on. T-shirt, jacket, leather gloves, 5-layer mask to make sure I don't breathe it in. I wear glasses, so that's serving as my eye protection. If you don't, I would suggest you wear some eye protection. There's another method of doing this, the dribble method, where you dissolve the oxalic acid in a large syringe and you drop the droplets on the bees. I don't want to do it that way. It seems time consuming and it seems like there's more opportunities for the acid to get on my skin or to, make a mistake, and I don't want to do that. Vaporization has been found to be the most effective way to kill mites, better than strips or anything else. It's quick. I'll check my boards later on, my mite boards that are on the bottom of my bottom boards. They slide in and out, and see how many mites have dropped off my bees. That'll give me a good idea as to how much of a mite problem I have, if any. Okay, time's up. I'm going to pull this out. I see it's not vaporized. I'm going to put it back in. That means that there's a problem with my heat. I'm going to come over to my battery, check the connections again. Yep, they're good. They're good. My battery just might not be strong enough right now. I tested it beforehand. It gave me good readings. I had to reset my timer for 3 minutes. So that's about it. I'll do the next one so you can see one more time how I do it. I try to make sure that I have my materials out in front, so don't step on them and don't trip on them. Okay, fast forward 3 minutes. All right, shake out the dead bees. Next hive, wand, acid, 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon. I'm gonna get that 1/4 teaspoon just right. I'm gonna scrape it off the edge, pour it into the vaporizer. I'm going to open the towel that I've used to plug up the hive, and I'm going to stick it in as far as I can. Ooh, there's a lot of bees in here. They are angry. I've already got one little one bringing in some pollen right here. I want to keep my finger there, keep this plugged. I don't want any bees missing out on this treatment. And we wait 3 minutes. When 3 minutes is up, we pull the wand. I like to stick it in a jelly jar of water, just the end of it, cool it off, shake off any dead bees that might have gotten caught, and that's it. 3 minutes. The reason we want to treat for mites is because mites will feed off the lifeblood of your bees. They can transmit deformed wing virus, acute bee paralysis virus, numerous others. They mess with the bee's ability to thermoregulate. They spread to other colonies, other apiaries in the area. And I want these bees to be healthy and thrive. I want big, healthy, thriving colonies, particularly because I overwinter mine. Mites can wipe out a colony very quickly. Their population grows fast. They're little crab-like creature. They're red, pretty easy to see, and vaporizing has been found to be the easiest way and the most efficient way and effective way to kill Varroa mites on bees. So what happens is, the acid's on that wand, I stick it in, and it makes that acid turn into a gas. It flows up, covers the bees. It doesn't hurt them. It's made out of natural materials. And the mites don't like the oxalic acid vapor, so they drop off. So I've got open bottom boards here. However, in my open bottom board, I have a white board that slides in and out. And what I'll do after this is I'll pull out my boards to see how many mites have dropped. That'll give me an idea of how many mites I have on my bees, how many are dead, if I need to treat again. It's a good sign to see no mites. I know in warmer climates they tolerate having a percentage of mites in their hives. I don't want any. We have a very short blooming season here. We have a very short honey flow here. And when it's done, it's done. We also have to hive our bees up for a very long time for the winter. And any mites in the hive during the winter are going to have a fiesta. They're going to multiply. They're going to have a great time. And they're going to kill my bees. And I don't want that to happen. I also don't want it to happen to my neighbors' hives. Anyone else in the area who's got mites. Who's got bees. I don't want that to happen to theirs. I wanted to show you this because lots of people think it's complicated to do this. It's not. 3 minutes is up. So what I'm going to do is I've got my plywood right here. I don't want to melt anything or damage my deck or anything. The bees are on my deck right now. 3 minutes is up, so I'm going to pull that wand out. I'm going to keep that towel in. Now you got to do this quick, see? Ooh, they are pissed. So I've got some bees caught on there, and I'm going to shake it off down here. And I'm going to stick it in here to cool it off. We'll do one more. I still want that plugged up. I've still got the first one plugged up. I'm just going to scooch down. This is hive number 9 from last year. Came through the winter, which is very exciting. Uh-oh. I spilled some water. Not a big deal. I scoop out my oxalic acid vapor, put it on the vaporizer, right in that little area that holds it. Put the lid back on. Careful not to breathe in any vapors or touch any. I'm going to stick it right in the corner of that hive, press it along the bottom and at a slight angle because I want it to be resting on the metal grate that's part of my bottom board. I don't want to melt any of my polystyrene hive. We're going to wait 3 minutes. I've got my timer. Fast forward. 3 minutes is up. I'm going to pull that wand out very gently and slowly, even though there's bees. They're upset about it. I'm going to shake it off down here. Away from my face, away from my skin. Luckily the cord is long. We're going to do the last one. I've got other bees, other hives that are in a different area. I'm just going to stick to this area today. Make sure to keep my face away from that vaporizer. Measuring that 1/4 teaspoon. Vaporizer is warm. Put the 1/4 teaspoon in, set it down, lid on the vapors. Do I have heat? I do. I also have a little bee here with pollen in her pollen packets. I'm going to gently open this corner, and the bees are not happy. Sorry. I'm going to stick it all the way in at an angle. I got my timer set for 3 minutes. There's some bees coming through, so I want to plug that. And then I'm going to watch this mosquito and this little guy, little gal, with her little pollen pockets filled. And I'm waiting 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the vapors will have permeated the bees. And that'll be my treatment for now. I'll check my mite boards, see where I'm at. See if I need to do another treatment. It's important to do the treatment when there is no brood, because the mites will get in and eat the larvae when you've got capped brood. So when you first get a package of bees, if that's what you're doing, it's good to do immediately before the queen starts to lay. In these hives, what I did yesterday is I pulled all the brood frames. They're being kept warm. They're labeled. It's which hive they go to. And after this, I'll open up the hives. I'll wait a little bit, open up the hives and replace those brood frames into the hive. And what that means is, since I have brood, I'm going to have to retreat, just to make sure that there were no mites inside that capped brood. 3 minutes has passed. I want to make sure. You don't want to do this around kids. You don't want to do this when you're in a hurry. You don't want to do this when the bees are in a cluster. It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit here. Our bees are not clustering. As you can see, they're flying around. Partially because they're angry. I can't tell you what temperature they cluster at, but I know that they'll fly around when it's 32 degrees above zero, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. They'll still be in flight. So what they say happens in the lower 48 is not accurate for us all the time. 3 minutes has passed. I'm going to keep my thumb on that towel. Some bees are going to come out. They're angry. I'm going to plug it back up, knock it off the side here. And I don't want to be near this. It's got some vapors. So I'm going to stick it in my jelly jar, pull it off, so that I can stick it onto the plywood. See how it turned? That's why I have it on that. Part of the reason I have it on that plywood. Okay, these bees are coming out. They're not happy. That's okay. They don't have to be right now. It's time to clean up.